I am so excited to be back with you guys sharing another live YouTube live. For those of you that don't know, I did have to take a break from lives for just a little bit. I've been sharing videos, but not lives because we made a massive move. My husband and I had a new home built, and so we got moved over the summer. A new stamp room had to be built, all kinds of craziness, but doesn't matter because I'm back. Woo! I'm very excited to share the project with you today. So right now we are live. That is true. It is 11 a.m. Central Time on October 14th. So if you look at your watch and you see that it is 11 o'clock Central Time, guess what? You're on live. If it's another time, then you're watching a replay. And I'm still super happy that you're here for a replay as well. So there is a chat room going on, and just be sure to log into your YouTube account. And that way you could be in the chat room. The oh so fabulous Brenda Paulson is there waiting for you. She's my most fabulous moderator, and she'll be there to answer questions. And in case you missed anything in the video, she's got all those great notes and she's going to be able to share with you. All right, I am very excited to get started with this project because we're coming up on the holidays and it's time to start thinking about maybe some handmade gifts. I love to give handmade gifts. It's my favorite thing. And hopefully it is yours too. And you know, can I just go on a little side note, little rabbit trail? Have you been hearing on the news about all the issues that seem to be happening with holiday shopping and shipping this year? Yeah, it's like massive, huge problem. So wouldn't this be a great time to just switch gears and give the gift of handmade gifts instead of going out and trying to buy things? So I'm just going to throw that out there. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to it as well. It just kind of gives me the opportunity to give a little piece of myself. So with that being said, we're going to move the camera. My stamp table is just right over here on the other side of me, and we are going to go ahead and get started with our project. So as I always like to say, we're about to go on a little roller coaster ride. If roller coasters make you queasy, just look away because I'm going to take my camera. I'm going to give you just a lovely, lovely shot of my ceiling. And then I'm going to do a little reversal and get myself situated here. All right, we are ready to go. Before we get started, I did want to point out that there is a tutorial that's going to go along with today's video if you would like to purchase it. The only reason I do things like this, I know some of you are very visually motivated, and sometimes you need things like diagrams to help you. This tutorial has 4 diagrams, so lots of cutting diagrams to make things super, super easy for you. And I can't flip pages today. All right, we're off to a good start. Yeah, there's 4 different diagrams, and then of course complete written instructions and photos as well. So if you want to work along with a written tutorial, you can find that at simplysimplestamping.com or look in the YouTube description, and I'm going to have a link where you can order that. All right. Remember, this is optional, totally optional. I'm going to teach you how to do this. But like I said, I know a lot of you really prefer written instructions. So let me show you what we're making today. This is what I like to call my perpetual birthday calendar / scratch paper holder. So we have got some cards here. This is where you're going to write your December birthdays, your November birthdays. I don't know why these are in here backwards, but they are. There we go. So you can just keep track of your birthdays and have that sitting there. You know, Facebook doesn't always get it right to give us those reminders. So this is a great way to have that reminder, and that way you can always have a day to remember. Over on this side of my little holder are some great pieces of scratch paper. Who can't use this? I don't know about you. I'm the queen of the scratch paper, the Post-it note. They're all over the place. But I have to tell you, I've been making these little boxes. I came up with this design years ago, and I continue to make them because they are just great, great little gifts. By the way, I should mention right back here as well, if you don't want to do the perpetual birthdays, you could also do business cards. Business cards are also the exact same size. And you know, I meant to bring my business cards over here and I didn't, but they fit in here as well. If you do that, keep in mind they're only going to come up to about here. So you might want to do a little bit more decorating up at the top. But the nice thing with this project, it has options. So if you're giving this as a coworker gift, the business cards might be great. But no matter what, who can't use scratch paper? All right, we are ready to get started. Now, get this, you guys. This whole piece, this whole stand is a one-sheet wonder. How many of you guys are crazy about one-sheet wonders? I know, I am too. Well, let's go over the supplies that we need. So we're gonna start, I'm using Coastal Cabana, one of my favorite colors, kind of reminds me of Tiffany blue, 8.5 by 11. I have 20 sheets of copy paper. This is my scratch paper for that little box. We've got 20 sheets of that. We're going to need 12 pieces of basic white. These are cut 3 1/4 by 3 1/2. That's for your perpetual birthday. Now, remember, if you're doing business cards, skip this step. Those are not for you. Let's see. We're also going to need a couple more pieces of basic white. This one is a 2 1/2 by 2 1/2. That's going to be for my stamping. And then this one here is a 3/4 by 2 1/2, and that's for my sentiment. Okay, one last thing we need, and that is some designer series paper. I'm using Daffodil Delight on my project. And did the color just go really wonky? I'm looking at it and the color went blue all of a sudden. What on earth? All right, sorry about that, guys. Welcome to technology. Piece of Daffodil Delight Designer Series paper, 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. This one here is 3/4 by 6. Watch, I'm going to move that out of the way and watch the color go back to normal. It did. Oh, okay, that's just bizarre. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and get to work here. So I'm going to start with my Coastal Cabana, and we're going to do some cutting. All right, so I'm going to bring in my paper trimmer, and I'm going to take my scoring blade. Let me get that out of the way because we're going to cut. Remember, cutting blade is that darker one. So the first cut we want to do is we're going to cut this down to 3 1/2 inches. So 3 1/2. Let me set that off to the side for just a minute because we want to take this piece that is now 4 1/2 by 11. So I'm now going to rotate it. I've got the 11 inches up here at the top, and I want to cut this down to 5 1/2. So 4 1/2 by 5 1/2. That is actually my scratch paper box, okay? This piece that's remaining, we're going to cut it down to 2 1/2 inches. So that's 2 1/2 by 4 1/2. Set that off to the side. And then, why do I feel like that is too long? You guys, I literally just cut that wrong. Oh my goodness. You know what? Don't worry about it because luckily I have all the pieces cut. Yay. So don't look at my crazy measurements. So this piece should have been 3 1/2 by 4 1/2. Oh, welcome to live. This is how it goes. All right. So work with me. We have those pieces done. We're now going to do, oh, please tell me you guys get it when these things happen. All right. Well, now we're going to bring in our Simply Scored board. I'm like a Boy Scout. I'm always prepared. All right, so we're going to do some scoring on all those cut pieces. And I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with this. This is something I designed, again, many years ago, probably about 8 or 9 years ago. If you guys are familiar with this is what I call a box maker shim. And hey, Brenda, would you put the link up for the box maker shim? I'm not going to go over how to create this because I've done it in several videos. But I do recommend when you create this project that you make this box maker shim. Now, one thing I do want to tell you is if you've noticed in Stampin' Up's photopolymer stamp sets these days, there's like this extra piece of window sheet or acetate Did you know that you can use that leftover piece? You've probably been throwing it away, but I hope not, because a good crafter would hold on to that. That is perfect for creating the box maker shim. So I hope that you have this. And like I said, Brenda, oh, thanks so much, Brenda. She popped the link up there, because this is going to make a world of difference. What this is going to do is create a bump. It's just going to bump out my cardstock a little bit. It's going to make everything go together perfectly. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to take that box maker shim, and you can see it just clips right there on the side. I mean, that thing is awesome. And it just sits right there. And like I said, that's going to create a little bump out. So let's start with the 4.5 by 5.5 piece of cardstock. We want to lay that right here into our Simply Scored board. You just want to make sure, and you know what, it's never happened that my cardstock has gone underneath it, but you do want to make sure it hasn't lifted in some way. Just make sure it's down flat. We're going to put that piece of cardstock 4.5 by 5.5, and we're going to score it at 1 inch on all 4 sides. You just want to make sure that cardstock's not going underneath that shim. Okay, what did I just do? There we go. All right, so that is my scoring that is the scratch paper box. My next scoring I'm going to do is on the birthday reminder box, and this is that 2.5 by 4.5. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to put the 2.5, right? 2.5 inches up there at the top, and I'm going to score it at 1 inch. And now I'm going to flip it around. And again, with that shim in place, that's really important. That shim is there. We're going to score again at 1 inch. Now, with that 4.5 up at the top, we're going to score at 0.5 inch. Remember, shim is still in place. There we go. So that is what we need for our scratch paper box. Our last one is this 3.5 by 10 inch piece. And this one is the stand itself. Guess what? No shim. Goodbye shim. We don't want that, because this is the one that we need to be a little bit smaller. And the shim is what's going to make these two fit together really well. I have the 10 inches up here at the top. We're going to score at 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, and 6.5 inch. For those of you that don't like to flip out your paper trimmer bar, you can actually flip it around and score it 3.5 inches, whichever makes you happy, but that is going to be our stand. Guys, at this point, we are done with our Simply Scored board. All right. So let's go ahead and start putting some pieces together. How about I start? I'm going to start here with the scratch paper box. And I am kind of a stickler for boxes that go together really nice. And so I like to miter when I work. So do you see these 4 squares that are on each corner? We're going to cut up right on that score line, just like that, okay? Now, I want to be really clear. You're not going to cut off the squares. We're just cutting up right on that score line. Okay, well, come here, scissors. There we go. Now, what we want to do from here is, this is where I said I like to miter. I like my boxes to go together well. And so I'm going to snip. I hope you can see. I'm going to snip from the inside of the square to that outside corner. So we're coming. I always like to say we're going to cut out a little piece of pie or a little piece of pizza, whichever you prefer. See that? Just a sliver. And we're going to do that to all of these little corners, these little squares. Remember what I said, if you are cutting off a square, oh my goodness, please stop. That is not what we want to do. We just want to do this little miter, okay? All right, so that is done. Throw those on the floor just to irritate the dog. At this point, we need to cut a little circle or an oval. See this right here? We need to be able to like grab our scratch paper, right? If this were buried down in that box, how would we get it out? So we want a little half circle right here. Well, as I was getting ready for my video today, so I have in my instructions that you're going to use your layering circle dies. So you're just going to use one of your circles. It doesn't matter which one, but we just want to kind of lay it right here. Do you see? We want to leave a little room right here. We don't want to come all the way down. Leave yourself a little bit of room, and we're going to want to die cut that circle. Oh, you know what? And I should say this. I'm so sorry. You want to do your folding on all of these score lines before you do that. Yeah, can I tell you from experience what happens if you don't? Suddenly that little, let me show you, this little area right here, woo, it gets a little hard to fold. So yeah, let's make sure we give all those a good score. And then, like I said, we're going to die cut with the layering circles, but I have to show you what I discovered today. So, you know, we're going to be using the Nothing is Better Than stamp set and dies. Okay, tell me what you see in that cookie die. It's a circle. Oh my goodness. So I didn't even have to use the layering circles. Look, I could use that cookie and that would have done it too. As long as I can get myself just a little half circle right there. I know. Why do I think of these things later? But so what we're going to do is we are going to cut out, and I have one already done here. So that's what it looks like when it's cut out. You can see that's why we wanted that fold. We want to go ahead and crease that now before we've got that. It's just a really delicate little area. All right, this part is done. So now I'm going to flip this over, and you can see I have put tear and tape here on right along the score lines, okay? Right there. Now, you can also put some adhesive here, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. First of all, I'm using tear and tape because it's a super strong adhesive, and this box is going to get a workout, okay? It's going to get a workout because we're going to have scratch paper in there, and so I'm just going to use some Stamp and Seal here on these ends, because all I just need to do, I just need to adhere that down. But this area, this is where gravity wants to work against us. So I'm going to remove my tear and tape, and we can put this box, the scratch paper box, can start to come together. All right, do you see how I'm just bringing the corners together so they meet all happy right there? Yep, they're just coming together just like so. And again, that tear and tape is doing majority of the work. And you can put tear and tape on the other end too. Sometimes I just like to keep things a little bit easy. All right, guess what? Scratch paper box is done. That's pretty simple, right? Okay, now we're gonna work with, this is the box that will hold either the business cards or it's going to hold the Perpetual birthday. So whichever way you decide to go. And do you see we have squares? This one's a little bit different. It's still a box, but it's put together a little bit differently. So I've just snipped on those ends right there. And just like you saw me do, we're gonna do it again. We're gonna just snip a little piece of pizza right here, just snipping that away, okay? And let me show you how we're going to put this one together. So just like before, we're going to take our bone folder. We're going to give all these a good crease. I am a stickler for a bone folder when it comes to boxes. If you guys have followed me for a while, you know I always mention it because you just need, you know, trying to use your fingernail and whatnot. You just want to make sure you get a really good hard crease when it comes to a box. All right, here's what we're gonna do. We need to take these little tabs and we're gonna put it on the outside of that tab. And then this tab, this bigger one's gonna come around. Can you see? That is what we're going to do. So you can use, you know what, sometimes with things like this, because those are so little, and I'm an adhesive nut. You know, I have all the adhesives. They all serve a different purpose. You can use your Stamp and Seal here as well, but this just has to hold temporarily, really. So what I've done is I've just put some mini glue dots on those tabs, and I want you to notice it's not going to come all the way around. When this comes together, there's going to be a gap right here. That's okay. That is what it should do. And don't worry, because we're going to cover that up. So we want to make sure we're doing both sides exactly the same, meaning there's my tabs on the outside. All right. We're going to sandwich that in between this one, and we're going to use the tear and tape right here. So let me grab my tear and tape, and we can put that, and you're going to want to go right to that edge. And, oh, it's sticky stuff. All right. And to here. As I've kind of mentioned, I absolutely love to give handmade gifts for the holidays. And I think this is one of those gifts, especially for those hard to buy for people. You know, it's like, what do you give? Or coworkers, you just want to do something, but the question is what? And of course, you don't want to break the bank. Well, guys, this little project used, you know, like one sheet of cardstock. And I think, oh gosh, not even a total of 3 pieces of cardstock for the birthday, the Perpetual birthday. Oh my goodness, Connie needs more coffee. All right, so we had that 3/4 inch by 6 inch designer series paper. And what we're gonna do, I'm just gonna lay it on here, just kind of eyeball it. You don't have to get it centered perfectly. And you see how I'm just kind of giving it a crease? See how I've creased that? Let's do the same thing over here. Once you get those crease lines, now we can come in with the bone folder, because we've got those creases. They're there and secure. But remember what I said with boxes, we love having those good harsh edges. All right. Oh, I'm going to kind of try to glance over here too and see who's on with me. Charlotte says she's late, but she's looks like she's watching during her lunch break. That's pretty awesome. Glad you're here. All right, so what we can do now is we can adhere this onto our box. Now, I went ahead and did that in advance. You can put this on just with some Stamp and Seal. You're fine right there, okay? And let me show you what I did here on the back. I came along the back and I added 2 strips of the tear and tape, because that's how we're going to add this to our box. So I went ahead and did that just so we're all good to go. Okay, I think now we are ready to put the actual stand together. So just like you've kind of seen me do, we're going to give all of these a good hard crease. Once we get to these score lines, we're going to accordion fold. And here's the thing, if you didn't accordion fold, you can come back and accordion fold. So and let me show you, that's how you can see there's that stand. Can you see how that's going to go together like that? Okay. Now, from here, and let me bring in, because I've got one that I've kind of done a little bit of work on. So here's our accordion fold, and here's our panel. I'm going to take that 3 1/4 by 3 1/4 designer series paper, and we're going to add that right here. It's going to center up because it's a 3 1/2 by 3 1/2 inch square. That can go right there, okay? So now you can see there's our stand. All right. So, you know what? We are going to actually, let me set all this off to the side because I need to fill this box with my scratch paper before I get too far ahead of myself. So I'm going to bring my paper trimmer back in. And remember those 20 sheets of copy paper? And you guys were going, what is she going to do? We're going to start with 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to start with 5 of these. And yes, in our paper trimmer, the Stampin' Up! Paper trimmer, you can cut through 5 of these at a time. How sweet is that? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this down to 2 1/2 inches. Look at that. One swipe. Are you guys impressed? That's pretty cool. So that's 2 1/2 by 11. Let's do that again. 2 1/2 by 11. By the way, this is also one of the diagrams. So you don't need to remember all this if you decide you want to get that tutorial. 2 1/2. And then what should be remaining should be 3.5, okay? So now let me go ahead and start with this 3.5. We're gonna rotate it, and we're gonna cut these down to 2.5 inches. And isn't this sweet that you can cut through 5 sheets at a time? It is gonna save you a ton of time when it comes to cutting up these pieces of scratch paper. Did you know you're gonna have 200 of these when you're done? Can you believe that? And look, we're just gonna zip through that. Now these are my 2.5 inch by 11. And guess what? We're gonna cut those down to 3.5. So 1, 2, and yep, this one's gonna need to be cut down just a little bit, this last one, because it's a little long. And then of course we're gonna repeat it here, and then we're gonna repeat it with all of that copy paper, okay? All right, now we have, let's pretend we've got 200 sheets of copy paper. In fact, I'll grab those just to, so let's make sure everything fits. It does, and do you wanna know why it fits? Why does it fit, Connie? Because we use that box Maker Shim. Remember how I said this was just a little bump? If I hadn't used that, this paper would not fit in here. It would, the box would try to buckle and kind of explode out. You don't want that. And look at that, now everything fits just right. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and pop this out of here. I just wanted to make sure, you know, it's kind of like as you go along, you wanna make sure everything's gonna fit, right? So now what we wanna do is we're gonna go ahead and come in with our stand, because we're gonna go ahead and start putting this box together now that I've got that copy paper, because I wanted to have that ready to go. So on the piece with the designer series paper, I'm gonna flip it over. And you notice I have 2 strips of tear and tape here. I'm gonna flip over this side, and you notice on this end, I have 2 strips of tear and tape. So remember, one's on this side, one's on this side. That's gonna make it easier if we go ahead and have those ready to go, so that when we put this together, things will go together the way we want. I'm gonna peel away my backing. I'm gonna take my scratch paper box. See the end with the circle? We don't want to go on that one. We wanna go on that opposite side. And this is just simply going to slide inside my box, and it's going to fit perfect. Why? Because this didn't use the shim and the box did. So it fits wonderful, no issues at all. Now this side, we're gonna actually sandwich that box, the scratch paper box. So can you see? Let me peel away this backing. So the box, the scratch paper box, will just be sandwiched between the designer series paper piece, or the designer series paper side, and this side. Let's line that up. You want to make sure you're going to be flat, because that's going to sit like that. Now, this is, I don't know if you can see it, but unfortunately this is kind of popping upwards. So that's why we want this scratch paper ready to go, because that's going to also act as a weight, and it's going to hold that scratch paper box down. Look, it sits nice and flat now. Okay, so we have this side. You know what? That's where, of course, my my box for my perpetual calendar pieces are going to go. But I don't want to add this just yet, because I want to do my decorating. Now you may wonder, why am I decorating like after I've put this together? Well, I wanted to be able to see where the edge is to my copy paper, so that I get everything right. So we're going to set things aside, and we're going to stamp, because it's time to do some fun stamping. So I mentioned at the beginning that yes, we are going to create a nothing's better than little project today. We're going to say today is a coffee kind of day, and I'm pretty sure tomorrow will be too. Now, I am using the matching dies. I hope that you have those. If not, you could just change it up a little bit, and you could do stamping instead of die cutting, but I'm such a huge fan of die cutting. The other stamp set we're going to use is called Days to Remember. Okay, can I just say right now, everyone needs to have a month, or a calendar stamp set in their collection. I've had different ones throughout the years, but this is a must-have. You're just going to be amazed how many times you need those months. And there's all kinds of fun little projects and calendars and things that we can use this stamp set on. So days to remember, that's the one that we're going to use. All right, so first things first, we are going to, I can't find any of my papers. There we go. We're going to start, remember that 2.5 by 2.5 inch square? Let me show you what I did here. I did stamp in advance, and I stamped in Coastal Cabana, today is a, down here at the bottom, kind of day, and then on the side, I'm pretty sure tomorrow will be too. And then I stamped the coffee cup right there in the middle. So what we want to do, where did my, there, I just put my dies underneath the stamp set. I couldn't find them. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to die cut that coffee cup, all right? So we're going to die cut that, and through the magic of television, that is right there. So now I'm going to bring my paper trimmer back in so we can do just a little bit more cutting away. Now, I didn't give you the measurements for this because it's all going to be determined on where you stamped. And so all we're going to do is just kind of lay this in here, and then we'll cut. All right? Pretty simple to do. And here's what's great. If you stamped crooked, oh my gosh, that is like the tiniest scrap. Feel free to go and try it again on another piece of scrap. But I love having these cut down to size. And yeah, you can get tighter, you can get looser. But yeah, I hate to give an exact measurement because the spacing where everyone would stamp could be just a little bit different. And yeah, we're just simply gonna trim down our words so we have those ready to go. And the last thing that we want to do is remember that one, let me find it. Oh, I can't find it. That one piece of the Coastal Cabana that was left over, it was 3 inches by 4.5. We're going to use that piece for our sentiment coffee, okay? Since it was scrap, I'm like, well, we're going to use that. Now, what I'm going to do, because I think this is one of the greatest products in the Stampin' Up! Catalog, this is a piece of adhesive sheet, and you can cut it down to whatever size. So you're going to want to get your die and just make sure you're bigger than your sentiment, okay? That's all you need to do. And this just has a little backing that we peel off. You're going to want to peel it off gently, and that's all adhesive on the back. And so when we peel this off, I have all this great adhesive on here. We're going to adhere that down. And now I'm going to lay my die right there. Now you see why I said go bigger, because we want to make sure we get that on there. And you're going to run that through your die cutting machine. When you do that, you're going to get this great little die cut. And all we have to do is just peel off this backing, and it's going to stick. So we don't have to worry about putzing around with little bits of adhesive. So that is just an awesome way to work with that scrap and with that adhesive sheet. Love, love, love. Okay, let's go ahead and bring in our box. And you know what? I do have a little more stamping. I should go ahead and share this last bit of stamping just so we can say we're done. That one, we had that one little scrap left. This was a 3/4 by 2.5. I'm going to take Smoky Slate. And by the way, I don't think I mentioned it. That was in Smoky Slate and Daffodil Delight. We're going to stamp you know what? We're not going to stamp. We're going to punch this first. All right. We're going to bring in the treasured tag Pick-a-Punch. I love these Pick-a-Punches. They're so fun. Did you know that there's little grooves right here that will fit your different size pieces of cardstock? So 1/2 inch, 3/4, and 1 inch. It's great. So that little piece of cardstock, it's just going to just happy right in there. But I have to tell you something. It's a short piece. And you know what that means? That means you get up to here and it's like, eek, it's struggling. I always flip it over, and I want to make sure I'm centered. I only have to do this when I'm dealing with a really small piece of cardstock, okay? Because we want that lined up really nice. If this were a longer piece of cardstock, oh, this would be no problem at all. But when you're dealing, see, we want to make sure that's good, straight. We're pushed all the way up to the top. And that way, see, now it's all perfect. Yep. So my little tips there to make sure you know where those are. We're now going to take a day to remember, and we will stamp that right there in the middle of that little piece. That's going to give us it was just the perfect reminder when it came to a birthday. And yeah, that comes in the Days to Remember stamp set. So that's great. Okay, we are going to do a little more stamping. We're going to take this little flower and this little swirl and then our months. So let me show you how we're going to do this. First of all, we are going to take our cards, and I will tell you, they will go into this box both directions. Remember, they're 3.5 by 4.5. You can put these in either way. It does not matter, but you want to go ahead and decide what way it's going to be so they're all the same. And I'm going to start with a Daffodil Delight ink pad and that little flower. So for this first card, we're going to start with January. We're going to stamp the flower. Let's see, we're going to come in with Coastal Cabana, and we're going to stamp January and another flower, and back in with Smoky Slate, and this is where that little swirl is going to come in. I just thought it needed a little something extra. So we're going to do that. Let me move my ink pads for a minute, because the next one I'm going to do, we're going to start, actually, we will start, you know what? I don't have all my months out. Don't ask me what went crazy wrong there. So let's pretend. Let's say that actually says February. I promise I am a well-prepared person. I don't know what I was thinking. We're going to stamp the flowers there. Lucky I did a lousy job because we're not going to use this one. There we go. So that would be February. So let me go ahead and bring these in so you can see what they would look like. So it would be, let's look at October, November, and December. So do you see we're off to the left, we're centered, and we're off to the right. So you're going to do that to all the cards, and you're just going to keep going until you get to the end. And guys, it's now time. Let's see, I think I've got everything. So it's time to finish putting the box together in our little stand. Remember, we put that tear and tape on the back of this. We're going to peel that off. Now for this, I'm going to put some weight here on the top of the stand because we want to make sure this attaches flat. Let me flip it over. We want that nice and flat. We want things even. And put my fingers in there. Do you notice? Look at my stand. What's it doing? Yeah, it's kind of flopping up. That's what it does. So guess what? When we put our cards in here, it does help weigh it down. Now, it still is a little floppy, and I apologize for that. But these cards, and if you have business cards in there, that would really give some nice weight to the box. Okay, let me remove that. And let's go ahead and decorate right here. So I'm going to come back in with my sentiments and my coffee cup and my word coffee. So we are going to, I'm going to get my silicone mat here because I tend to get a little messy. I'm going to put adhesive on the back of these. Whoops, a little bit more, Connie. Okay. So let's start with the Today is A, and we'll just kind of put that right here at an angle. I never press anything down until I'm sure, okay? I like to give it just a second. So now we're going to say today is a coffee kind of day. So I'm going to add kind of day right there. Let me peel off the backing on my word coffee because remember, we wanted to make it easy. I hope if you're thinking about making these for coworkers or for, all the family when they get together, you could customize it. Because, of course, with this particular stamp set, it can be coffee, it can be cookies, it can be chocolate, it can be cocktails. You got all kinds of options. And now I will say, and I'm pretty sure tomorrow will be 2. Can you see why I wanted that paper in there? I wanted to make sure I was putting everything on straight. Now, that coffee cup, I put a Stampin' Dimensional on the back. And we can add that coffee cup right there. Now, we have one other thing to do here, and that's these pieces of copy paper. Did you see what I did? I stamped a little coffee cup on all of these. And I got to tell you, it only took me 10 minutes to stamp all of these pieces of copy paper. Let me see, that's my ones that I didn't stamp. Yeah, 200. And what you're going to do is you're just going to stamp, 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 and just keep going. It goes faster than you think, but you know, I got to tell you, when it comes to the scratch paper, don't you think it looks really nice? I think it really adds something to just go ahead and have that stamped. Be careful you're not using anything too big. Remember, we got to have room to write. And if you didn't want to do this, you know what else would be cute? Let's just try the little flower. Since we have this flower, and we can go stamp, 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 stamp. Do you see how fast it really can go? And of course, you're going to miss one every once in a while, and that's okay. But yeah, this part will go very, very quickly. So you could use flowers as well, whichever one you want to go with. So let's grab our calendar pieces. They can go here. And I'm going to go ahead and bring in this one. Oh, I didn't add my sentiment. Oh my goodness, let's do that. So remember, that's a day to remember. Let me show you what I did. I added 3 Stampin' Dimensionals at the bottom. This is important, at the bottom of that sentiment. So I'm going to peel off these backings. You know, every time I think I'm like, oh, good, I'm done, I'm like, oh, wait, there's this. Oh, wait, there's that. All right, and what we're going to do here is we're going to add this, to the other side, Connie. Now you see why I wanted those sentiments, or the Stampin' Dimensionals on the bottom, because we want to make that just go part way up. So that is right there. The last thing I'm going to do, because everything needs a little something, I've got a little tiny gingham knot, and I've put that onto a mini glue dot. And this can go right here on the side. I mean, hello. Isn't it just sweet? Now I'm looking around to go, okay, did I really get everything this time? Ha. So let me get the rest of my copy paper, my scratch paper, because it will fill the box to the top. Your box will be filled to the top. And again, as I said, you change up the colors to suit maybe your coworker's desk. You could change out the sentiments here. There's lots in this stamp set. You've got different images. The chocolate one would be awfully fun, because I think a lot of us have those chocolate craving people at work, right? So you do have a lot of options with that one. I think this is a super fun project. And let me just reach down here. Oh, it's on the other side of me. Forgive me. But I was just going to say, remember, there is a tutorial with diagrams of everything. So if you struggle, you can get that. All right. Will you guys stick with me and just give me half a second to flip my camera around so I can properly say goodbye, because I just want to say thanks. Thanks, everybody, for joining me today. How do we do on time? Oh, we went a little, it's more than a half hour. But it is good to know that you could probably create this project in about an hour's time, right? An hour to make a really great gift for a friend and for a coworker. And again, remember, it uses very little supplies. So thank you guys so much for joining me for my live today. Little mistakes and all. That's called paper crafting. That's what we do. I truly appreciate you being here with me. Remember, the Creative 8 fall 2021 retreat is October 23rd. If you have not registered yet, oh my goodness, you're not going to want to miss this, because this is one of those events. It's an all-day crafting event, and it's like every hour on the hour there is a new Facebook Live for you, and it's going to be awesome. These are kind of what I like to call the over-the-top projects. The Creative 8 team is comprised of 4 of Stampin' Up's top demonstrators. You probably know their names: Brandy Cox, Jackie Bolheis, and Sharon Armstrong, and myself. We all come together each quarter for a different retreat. We have special guests. We have tutorials on every project. You're going to learn new things, and get this, you don't have to buy anything. You don't have to buy anything to participate in it, because we plan projects that are made to use with things that you already have on hand. So you're going to use your cardstock, your ink colors, your designer series paper. We're going to teach you all kinds of things. We've got fun folds and techniques and packaging, and you're going to see like 3 or 4 different projects for every single one. So then after we share, then all the people who have been on the retreat, they all come and share. So your mind's just going to go, so many ideas. And like I said, there's nothing extra to buy after you've purchased your retreat. And when the retreat's over, you're going to get all of the tutorials. Again, we love that, right? $45 for all those tutorials. It's fantastic. So I hope you'll consider joining us. I'm going to have Brenda share the link on where you can register for the Creative 8 retreat. Be a part. I'm telling you, it's awesome. And you know what? Even if you're not on Facebook, join anyway, because you're still going to get the video links. You're still going to get the tutorials. And that way you can just do it at your own pace. And even if you can't be there on the 23rd, that's fine. You can come back anytime you want. You can stretch out the retreat for a month if you want. So we'd love to have you join us. One last thing, and that is the date for my next YouTube Live. That will be November 18th, 11 a.m. Central Time. That'll be noon Eastern Time. And that'll be 10 a.m. Mountain Time. And then Pacific will be 9. I'll get them all. Yeah, so I hope that you'll mark your calendars for November 18th. We're going to have a fun Create With Me day. Do you guys remember when we would do Create With Me? I'd give you some measurements for some cardstock, and then we would create cards together. You bring in, just like I kind of just talked about, you're going to bring in your own stamp sets, and I'm going to give you some ideas on different things that you can use, and then we're just going to create together. It's a really fun time, and I'll have about 3 cards to share with you, and you just get to stamp right along with me. I think it's going to be a blast. So mark your calendars for Thursday, November 18th. Okay, my friends, thank you for joining me, and thanks for sticking with Simply Simple Stamping as we went through the move. I do appreciate you guys. Make it a fantastic day. I love you guys. See you next time. Bye-bye.